Hello, I'm Katie Cowan, and this is the Creative Boom podcast, full of fun and honest conversations with creative people from all over the world. For episode 33, my guest is one of the most influential designers working today, Debbie Millman. The host of Design Matters, the world's first podcast on the subject of design, she's interviewed hundreds of leading names, including Milton Glaser, Barbara Kruger, and Malcolm Gladwell. She's the author of 6 books, with another one on the way this year to celebrate her podcast and everything surrounding it. In 2009, Debbie co-founded with Stephen Heller the world's first graduate programme in branding at the School of Visual Arts in New York City. And for 20 years, Debbie was the president of Sterling Brands, one of the world's leading brand consultancies. Here, we discuss how the world is changing. We talk of rocky career paths, not being afraid to talk about our mistakes, and why having courage is so empowering. We look at the beauty of getting older, as well as the sense that we might be running out of time. This is a meaningful conversation with someone we've all long admired for her talent, bravery, and dedication. For Season 2, we're proudly sponsored by Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp, where in as little as 3 months, you can go from dreamer to designer. We'll be hearing some helpful career tips from Shillington later in the show, but for now, sit back and enjoy my chat with Debbie Millman. I am now joined by the wonderful Debbie Millman. Hello.
Hello, Katie. It's really nice to be here.
Oh, gosh, it's such an honour to chat to you. I mean, you have just been a great influence in so many of our careers. You were born and bred in New York, weren't you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I was. I'm a native New Yorker.
Are you still there now? Or?
No, actually, I'm not. I met Roxane Gay 2.5 years ago, and we got married 6 months ago, and she lives in LA. And so we've been going back and forth as safely as possible. Thankfully, we've both remained healthy. And so we spend the first 6 months of the pandemic, I was here. Then we went back to New York for a few months, and now we're back in LA, and we'll go back to New York, I think, in March.
That's really nice sort of life balance, isn't it? You get a bit of the sunshine and you get New York. Because I read somewhere that, you know, New York was in your blood. You just wouldn't ever leave it. So it's, you know, Roxane's pretty special, I would guess.
Yes. I do have to say that this is the first time in my life I've ever spent this much time away from New York. Initially, I was super homesick and really sad. But I've been managing, and now I really like the West Coast, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm definitely glad I'm missing the winter.
Yes, it can be pretty brutal in New York, although I was there last February, just before COVID-19 stopped and changed life for everything. My husband said to me before I got on the plane, he said, "Are you sure you want to go to New York? There's this thing happening in China. They don't know what it is yet." I'm like, it'll be fine.
Right. It's so interesting how we all had this sense at the beginning that it was going to be such a temporary state of affairs. I remember Roxane saying to me, "Oh, we'll just pack for 2 weeks."
We've never had anything like this happen in our lifetimes, have we?
No. And I just am so embarrassed at the way that the United States has handled things, and continue to be just ashamed of the way our politics has unfolded and what that means and how that affects the rest of the world.
Yeah, there's been a lot to take on board, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Gosh, the events of last year, it's just been non-stop for you, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, it has. Hopefully January 20th can't come fast enough.
Yeah. Did you have, I mean, it sounds like a silly question, but I guess we all do it, don't we? We get to the end of the year and we rush and, you know, try and finish a lot of projects. We think it's the end of the year. Gosh, we have no time left. And then we get to January and we're like, fresh start. Yeah. We just forget that actually life continues. And I think in the same kind of way, I kind of naively thought, it'll be all back to normal next year.
Yeah, I don't even know what normal is anymore. I really don't.
But, the Capitol Hill, oh gosh. I mean, you've got to admire the outfits. I mean, What was that all about?
I can't. I just can't. It's just all so heinous.
Oh, it's awful.
And it's so demoralizing to think that there are that many people in the United States that are so angry and so racist and so homophobic and so misogynist and so violent. And it's hard to believe that this is the country that I live in and come from. And I just want to feel proud of my roots again. And I don't know when that's going to happen.
Gosh. Well, how have you been coping then? How have you been trying to sort of keep yourself upbeat and lifted?
Well, teaching has been a great balm to all of this, as always, and trying to give back as much as possible. I do a couple of things that sort of fuel me. One is the graduate program that I run at the School of Visual Arts. I also teach an undergraduate class every semester. And so both my undergrads and my graduate students are a true source of inspiration for me and make me feel very hopeful about the next generation of leaders. So that's one thing. And I'm also on the board of two foundations, two nonprofits. One, I'm the chair of the board, and the other, I'm the secretary of the board. And that work is for the Joyful Heart Foundation, which Mariska Hargitay, who's the star of Law and Order SVU, she started this many, many, many years ago. And it's a foundation that she created to eradicate sexual violence. And so I do a lot of work with that group. And right now we're working on eradicating the rape kit backlog in the United States. And then Performance Space is an organization that was created to help to bring to life experimental work in performance, dance, music. So that's something that also gives me quite a lot of fuel. And my podcast, which I'm still doing, and it took me a while to figure out the technology, as you can attest, as it was difficult for me to figure out the technology to do this with you. I'm not a technophobe, I'm a technophobe.
Do you know, I think that'll go down in one of my fondest memories of showing Debbie Millman how to sort her headphones out. Oh, well, it's nice to know that we can all still be, useful in this world.
Yes. And I also have been working on a book. I just finished the manuscript and submitted it.
Oh, amazing.
And that's a book to really celebrate 15 years of doing the podcast. It'll actually be 16 by the time the book comes out. It'll be 16 next month. In a few weeks, it'll be 16th anniversary of Design Matters. And so the book is called Why Design Matters, How the World's Most Creative People Create. And that will feature about 60 interviews of the 400 plus that I've done, plus sort of mini quotes from another 50 or so people. Really beautiful photography, some wonderful essays, as a timeline. And so that'll be out in October.
And that's going to be your 7th, isn't it? Your 7th book?
It is. It is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've always shared your kind of wisdom, and you've not been afraid to show people the truth behind your own journey, and all the books that you've written have been extremely helpful to others who might sort of be thrown out into the design industry, thinking perhaps getting the wrong impression that they have to be perfect and that they can't sort of make mistakes. And you've always been an advocate for, sharing the failures. And in fact, the failures are what make us, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. There is no success without failure and rejection, ever.
So how was it to reflect on the podcast? Because it began in 2005, didn't it?
Yes. Well, it's been a long journey of small steps. And I'm really proud of what it's become. It's something that I never would have expected. It was not something that I had planned. The whole concept of doing an online radio show, which is how the show started, was not on my bucket list. It was not on my goal list. It was nothing that I ever expected to do. I was offered the opportunity via a cold call that came into Sterling Brands, where I was president at the time. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it would be a fun, short-lived experience. I was somewhat incredulous that the radio network was even interested in my doing something like this, given I had zero experience doing anything like it. And thought it would be a fun experiment. I never in a million years thought that 16 years later, I would still be doing it. I would be writing a book about it, and it would still be growing and evolving and happening.
Do you have any favorites? Or are you not allowed to say? Is that too, like you can't say you've got a favorite child?
It's hard to say. There are so many favorites for so many reasons, and there's so many moments that I consider to be important that don't necessarily make the podcasts my favorite, but just significant. And some of those are even the bad interviews or the hard interviews or interviews that were challenging for one reason or another. So each interview has its sort of special place in my heart for different reasons and contribute to the sort of overall feeling I have about doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of, people underestimate when you run a podcast, you're sort of going on a journey yourself as well. You're learning from all these amazing people that you're meeting, really, and you build a rapport with them and you get to know them and you become a sort of friend briefly. And perhaps,
I feel like I inhabit a person's life in the weeks prior to my interviewing them, because I do so much research and try to uncover as much as I can and read as much as I can and watch as much as I can of each of my guests. Yeah. I feel like in the time before the interview, I try to inhabit who they are in the deepest possible way. And I really enjoy that. I probably enjoy that more than any other aspect of doing the show, in that time disappears when I'm doing it. I could be doing my research for 3 or 4 hours, not realize that 3 or 4 hours has passed, look up and think, where did the time go? Where did I go in that experience? It's a really profoundly pleasurable experience for me.
There's definitely a love of people there, Debbie. Where does that come from?
I don't know if it's a love of people so much as a love of process and a love of becoming. And I feel like I'm endlessly fascinated by how people become who they are, and trying to connect the dots of their creative journey. How did their early experiences contribute to who they are now? How did their obstacles inform how they've become who they are? And I think that I've been so committed to my own sort of discovery of myself that I sort of bring that same rigor to trying to understand my guests.
It's almost like therapy, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it definitely. It's definitely. I would say absolutely.
There was a breath then when I thought, "Gosh, did I get that wrong?"
No. It was like, and it really, because I'm so committed to my therapy, it was like, oh yeah, you sort of connected a dot for me, so thank you.
Well, I find it really helpful because I guess we do as humans search for meaning and reassurance that we're not alone, that we have shared experiences with others. And I guess from listening to some of your interviews over the years, that there's always that kind of that journey that you go on with them to try and sort of look under the bonnet, so to speak, and see what makes them tick. And it is fascinating.
How do you prepare for your interviews? What are the ways that you try to get to know your subjects?
I think I do a similar thing. I maybe not as intense, and maybe I'm now really paranoid and insecure that I haven't been doing enough research of my guests.
Your podcast is absolutely wonderful.
No, I'm joking.
No.
I'm joking.
Really, it is.
I guess I just I start mulling it over a couple of weeks before. I might sort of write a few notes, and I'll add to those notes. Anything that's really sort of interesting me, that I kind of would want to hear that person talk about, So for instance, all the things that have been happening, as a result of the pandemic, I thought, it's really influenced graphic design. I wonder what Debbie Millman would think of that. And it's like I'll be in the shower and I'll be out for a jog or I'll be on my bike and they just come to you, don't they? Like little kind of like little bubbles that come up and you sort of put them together. And then over sort of a couple of weeks, you have, I suppose, a story, a kind of a template that you want to take your guest on. And you have a sort of idea in your mind how you want the interview to go. You don't certainly want to ask the same questions as everybody else, certainly not with somebody who has pretty much done every interview in the world from what I've seen, Debbie. You just want to sort of try and go that extra mile, don't you? And not just ask the obvious stuff. But you're somebody that, when we sort of talk about success, it's something that people only really see, don't they? I guess they never really know all of the hard work and the mistakes and the suffering that we all go through to get to where we are. Would you?
That's
have
the
known
part
this?
that really interests me. Those obstacles, those struggles, those moments of insecurity. Everybody has them, and so seeing how people sort of create their lives with those moments and in those moments and alongside those moments is what really interests me.
Definitely. There was something that you said to me quite a while ago, actually, because I said I'd lost my confidence and we were talking about courage. It's something that you've kind of talked about quite a lot over the years. And it's just switching the mindset, isn't it? And realizing that actually we are all human. And having courage is the kind of key to getting over those kind of moments when we doubt ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And I have those moments all the time. And I forget my own advice. Roxanne reminds me of it from time to time because I can get so down about not being as good as I want to be, or as good as somebody else is. And those are really tough moments for me. And I still have them, and I still have them regularly. There are days where I just feel really down. The big difference between those down days now and those down days from, say, 20 or 30 years ago is that I am aware that they're finite. They're not going to last forever. And so when I'm experiencing them, I constantly am telling myself that this will pass, as opposed to making it worse by just sort of intentionally making it worse with my actions.
Yes. My husband likes to put it being inside your own head. He'll come into the room and he'll say, "You're in your own head again, aren't you?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go for a walk."
There's a fortune cookie that I got years ago that I have taped to my laptop, which says avoid compulsively making things worse.
I love that. It's true though, isn't it? Because we can it's almost like you're going down this spiral and you can see yourself when it happens.
Absolutely.
A horrible place to be.
But it does pass. It does pass.
I like to sort of liken it to when I gave up smoking. It's a little kind of evil nicotine craving, and you know that within 10 minutes you'll be fine.
Yeah. Although I do have to say, if I ever did get a terminal diagnosis, the first thing I would do was start smoking again.
Wow. I always said that when I was an old granny in a care home, I'm going to just get to know the local drug dealers. But there you go.
Yeah, torch up.
Actually, it's legal in California now, isn't it?
For marijuana?
For marijuana?
Yeah, it is. They have all sorts of dispensaries and companies, and oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy. You can have it delivered to your house.
Yep. Do you know, for a child of the 1990s, that was my coming of age decade. I was born in the late 70s. To go to California in 2019 to see my lovely friend Tiffany and do a kind of tour of the state in a sort of very tiny camper van. Seeing all the adverts, I was just like,
I
God,
know. It's
where was
surreal.
this when I was 16?
Yeah, it is surreal.
So you mentioned sort of, the comparison between where you are now and where you were back then. And we're talking about the Debbie that graduated from college in 1983?
Yes.
So who were you back then, and what were your sort of hopes and dreams?
I was a very hopeful, very talented, and very, very insecure young woman who had very little confidence, very little courage, and no sense of what she/I was capable of. And the one thing that I was sure of and was determined to do was to live in Manhattan, which I did. I first moved into a sublet with a college friend, and we were paying the woman who had the lease rent, and she was away for the summer, and we were subletting. Turns out she wasn't paying the rent to the landlord. She was keeping the money. Ooh. We all got evicted. And I had no place to go. I appealed to the landlord to try to legally rent me a place to live, which he did, which was a fourth floor tenement walk up railroad flat, which meant that you had to walk through the entire apartment. It was 4 little tiny rooms in a row, a tiny kitchen that was filthy, a small room that only really fit a small table and 2 chairs, and then 2 small rooms that you walked through. One that was sort of angular and couldn't really fit a bed very well, and then one room in the back that was facing a giant brick building, which at the time was a tobacco factory, and now, believe it or not, is the Google building. They bought the entire building. It's a square block. It's on between 8th and 9th Avenue, between 15th and 16th Street. But at the time, if I had the windows opened, it would smell like tobacco. And
my goodness.
It was a 4th floor walk up. There were a pile of vinyl sun chairs that the previous tenant had left on the fire escape, which then housed a pigeon's nest. So you couldn't open the windows in the summer. Anyway, so it was crazy. It was really crazy. My roommates were a couple. They were in the angular room, and I had to walk through their room to get to my room. And because they were a couple, they sometimes did what couples do for enjoyment and pleasure. And so I'd get stuck on either side.
So
it was crazy. But I was fulfilling my dream of living in Manhattan.
And was it lots of fun? Were there parties? And
I remember having a party on the roof of the building. And the only thing I remember really vividly from that experience was somebody telling me that they were jealous of me. Whoa. And I remember being so freaked out about somebody actually being jealous of my life that I went into for the first time in my life, I went into therapy, like real therapy, which really helped, which, was the foundation of my next therapeutic experience, which happened 6 years or so later. And then I went into like real analytic treatment.
Gosh, counselling is something that's frowned upon a little bit in the UK. We're all just told to sort of, do the classic stiff up, stiff up a lip and get on with it. And you're having counselling, you're such a failure.
Well, I felt that way too as I was going through my teenage years and into my early 20s, but I do have to say that with the amount of stress and strife that I had in my childhood, I could not have come out of that without guidance. There's just no handbook about abuse that's good enough to circumvent getting professional help. It's just not possible. And, I tell people if you had cancer, if you had any kind of major illness, would you not seek doctor's help? Why wouldn't
exactly.
you? And if something can help you feel better and help you live a better life, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Exactly. I think the events of last year have possibly, and I know it's still ongoing now, but I think 2020 was such a kind of pressure point in the world that it kind of took away a lot of that. It took away that kind of shame and the kind of the bravado that maybe a lot of us carry. Suddenly we were sort of allowed to be ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take help wherever I can get it. I really will. And if there's a class that I can take that will help me grow, or if there's a treatment that will help, I'm all for it. I think that I've seen how people can help themselves in ways that are remarkable. And why not take advantage of something that's going to allow you to live a better, more aware, more enjoyable life? And it took me a really long time to feel better about myself. And it's also something that I still work on, as I mentioned. It's not, I don't walk around, feeling rainbows and unicorns all day, every day. There are a lot of days where I really still struggle. And I know that a lot of that comes from the constant early torture that I received as a child and as a young adolescent. So those things are just things you have to work on for your whole life.
We're now taking a short break to get some creative advice from Marcia Decker, an artist, designer and musician originally from Arizona and now based in New York. She's also a lecturer for Shillington at its campus in the Big Apple. Of course, Shillington is our sponsor for season 2 of the Creative Boom podcast, so I thought it would be good to get some helpful tips from the very people who work for the original graphic design bootcamp. I asked Marcia, do you have any tips on portfolios and making sure they're the best possible representation of our work?
Yeah, definitely have a think about the type of design that makes you most fulfilled and makes you happiest, makes you most excited when you're going to pursue that work. Because the more that you have those kind of examples in your portfolio, the more that kind of work will tend to come to you. So if you really enjoy illustrating, try to put a little bit more of an illustration emphasis in your portfolio. If it's doing really textural, abstracted, more artistic explorations, really lean into that. But if you'd like to just be really well-rounded, there's nothing wrong with that as well. So definitely have a think, even the kind of areas of design, if it's design for social good, or if it's more advertising or corporate or even small business focused, it's really important to have that reflected in how you pull together your portfolio.
To find out more about studying graphic design in as little as 3 months online or at one of Shillington's 6 campuses around the world, visit shillingtoneducation.com. Now, back to Debbie. I actually went and had some counselling at the tail end of last year, and I just sort of realised afterwards, after I've only had 3 sessions, why hadn't I done this sooner? It was just so amazing, but also quite upsetting when the counsellor said to me, "Oh, Katie, you actually did have a traumatic time when you were a child."
Yeah.
Nothing to do with my family, more of things that happened outside of family life. But
Sure.
and just having this stranger, this professional say to me that was just like so liberating. And I just felt this weight lift off my shoulders. And it allowed me the space to be kinder to myself and drop all these expectations I'd had of myself and of other people, and everything just started to connect the dots, and it was just so incredible.
Yeah, I think that there's something that remarkable happens when you feel less shame about who you are and more compassion and empathy. And shame is I think a really one of the most destructive emotions that we can experience. And the more that we can understand the sources of that, the more we can begin to get past it. But it's not something that happens on its own. It's so deeply embedded that it takes, I think, years and years to extricate.
You have a lot of kindness and compassion, Debbie, and I've always sort of supported the creative community. You've always supported me. And is that a way of you coping? Is that, I mean, I'm not suggesting for a second that you aren't a kind and compassionate person anyway, but I find that I like to give back and it makes me feel good and it kind of makes up for, you know, some of the things that have happened to me in my life that haven't been so great.
Yeah, I mean, I think I learned that from Milton Glaser. You know, I was very lucky to be a student of his, and he was a big proponent of supporting others, sharing. His generosity was remarkable. Same with Massimo Vignelli. I wasn't a student of his, but he was also very generous and very kind to me early on when he had absolutely no reason to be. But Milton was very adamant that you could live in one of two places in the world. You could live with the understanding that there was not enough to go around, and you could live with an understanding that there is enough to go around, that the world is an abundant place and there's enough for everyone. And that was the place that I wanted to live, not feeling like I'm never going to get what I want and therefore I have to hoard it all, but share as much as possible. And I've really tried to live in that space. It's very hard for me to feel like there's enough in my life. And that comes from, you know, real neglect, early neglect. So, you know, this opportunity is the only opportunity I'm ever going to have. And this is the only book I'm ever going to write. And this is the only class I'm ever going to teach. And it's something that I've grown to understand and work really hard to try to know that it's there, but not feel that it's accurate.
Do you think that you might have sort of found therapy in hard work in those sort of earlier years?
I'm not sure what you mean.
What I guess I'm trying to say is, you know, from my own experience, I think it's easier sometimes to bury yourself in work and make yourself very, very busy.
Yeah, I mean, definition, Debbie.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. I mean, even Roxanne said that before she met me, she thought she was the hardest working person that she'd ever sort of, and she's like, I just take it to a whole new level. I mean, that I always feel like I have to earn it. You know, it's not going to come without really just working all the time. And we've been, I think, for each other, really good at seeing that and being more mindful of wanting to have more moments of relaxation and joy. The other part of it, though, is since leaving the corporate world, I do feel real enjoyment in what I do work-wise. So it's not laborious. I just have to be careful that I leave room or create room and space for other things besides that, because it's not the only way to live.
Yeah, exactly.
But it does help me feel better about who I am and that I'm worthwhile, and being productive means that I am contributing. And, you know, that's a really tough trap to get out of. And I have to work on that all the time.
I don't think you can switch off creativity, can you?
Well, I don't know that it's about creativity. I think it's about feeling worthwhile and that I'm not worth anything unless I'm working. And that's the part that I still struggle with and I'm working to try to alleviate a bit.
That's a really interesting place to be at, and I hope you find more rest and time for relaxation away from work. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Can you ever imagine yourself retiring?
No. No, I actually don't want to ever retire because so much of what I do, I really love doing. What I'm trying to work on is not saying yes to everything, not feeling like every opportunity is the last opportunity. Those are the things that I want to try to be more mindful of. I am aging, so I'm not as young as I used to be, and I am much more mindful of time now. And so the question that I keep asking myself now is this what I want to do with my time? Is this, if I'm lucky, hopefully I'll have another 30 years or so. I hope to be able to work till the very end. But I also want to be more careful about what I choose to spend my time on, because time, I'm much more aware of its finiteness.
Yeah. So you had, was it a kind of decade after leaving college in the 80s of, what did I read? Failures and mistakes. And
I call it my decade, my experiments in rejection and failure. That's what I call that decade. Yeah, mostly because I was still just forming. I wasn't even a human yet, really. And I there are so few people that I feel really are fully formed and creative masters in their teens or their 20s. And, there are for every Jessica Hish and Jessica Walsh and Timothy Goodman and Billie Eilish and so forth, there are millions of people like me that just take a long time to find themselves. And not that I ever think I'd ever be at a level at any of the people I just mentioned. I do feel that I did find my calling, but it didn't happen until really I was in my 30s and 40s. Yeah, and it really wasn't until my 50s that I feel like I entered what Paula Scher calls the decade of power. And that 50s, as I'm about to end it, are really where I started to feel just more comfortable being me. I came out when I was 50. I left Sterling Brands when I was 55. And now, in my later 50s, I'm really starting to just enjoy the creative process as much as the achievement.
So if your 50s are the decade of power, what will be the 60s?
I don't know yet, because Paula said that they were not as good, and I don't want to even think about that.
Oh gosh, Paula, I'm going to have a
I
word
know
with her.
she's in her 70s or just sitting 70, and she's like still doing the best work of her career. Paula has not peaked yet, and I talk about that a lot because I don't want to peak until the day before I die.
Oh gosh.
And so she's my role model of constantly getting better at what you're doing.
I did interview her a couple of years back, and she said, sometimes she goes into initial client meetings, and the people in the room won't even look at her, won't even sort of acknowledge her, because they don't realize that actually she's the one that's going to be doing the work.
I thought it was because, I wouldn't have thought of it that way. I would have thought it was because they were so intimidated that they were afraid to look at her. So maybe that's really what it is.
Maybe.
I can't imagine anybody not knowing who Paula is in the creative and design fields.
She's a very calm woman, isn't she? I've only met her once. Very generous.
Very generous.
Yeah,
very honest. Very loyal. She's just incredible.
You count her as one of your many mentors.
Yes.
That you've had over the years, and you've not been afraid to go out there, reach out and support others as well. And you're surrounded by all these amazing people. But there was a mentor, wasn't there, that kicked all this off and made you realize that it's so important to reach out and have a network of other women and men to help propel you along.
Are you talking about Steve Heller?
I am.
Yeah. Steve is my fairy godfather. I don't even know that I would have the life that I have if it weren't for Steve. Steve is really the only person in my life that ever just was like, hey, would you like this? Would you like to do this? Would you like to share this? Would you like to own this? I mean, he's an unbelievable human being. And my life would not be the life that I have if it weren't for him. He helped me get my first book deal. Even before that, he was kind to me when he had no reason to, no need to. He had lunch with me when I was a nobody. He's been incredible. And then 2007, so 14 years ago, he asked me if I'd be interested in helping to create the world's first master's program in branding at the School of Visual Arts. And so I've been doing that ever since. And that would not have happened if it weren't for Steve. Not even the slightest chance.
Fantastic. And basically, looking back at that time, that turning point after that decade of experimentation, you didn't actually
I love how you put that so delicately, Katie.
Oh, my 20s, I just call them, they were a mess. Yeah. I was an idiot bumbling around and bumping into things and but then, my counselor's trying to stop me from saying that. Stop saying you're an idiot, Katie.
You're not an idiot, Katie.
But you started off you did go and work for a leading design agency, but it wasn't design that started there. It was marketing. Something I think that's actually been brilliant for you throughout the rest of your career, because I don't know anybody who does marketing better, really, in the design industry.
Well, I started after my decade of experimenting, as you put it. I was, I think, in my early 30s. I went to work at Frankfurt Ballkind, which was a real dream come true for me, because I thought that they were one of the greatest design firms working at that time in the early 90s, and thought that I'd really be able to learn from the very best. Unfortunately, they were not willing to hire me as a designer. I ended up being hired as an account exec and a salesperson, which I thought would be a way for me to at least observe and witness the way great design was being made. At the time, I just felt like I wasn't capable without learning of doing anything better than I was doing. I needed to be educated. And while that experience was really noteworthy for a lot of reasons, mostly because of the people that I met and because of the way I was able to see great work being made, I was working for somebody that didn't like me. And so my big advice to people is always, don't ever go to work for somebody that doesn't like you. It's never going to get better. They're never going to realize they made a mistake. Everything you're going to do is going to just support their initial hypothesis that you're an idiot. And I just felt like that all the time. And so I ended up leaving that job for a job that I was offered via a headhunter, which came through a cold call. And that was as a salesperson. I wasn't even doing account work anymore at that point. So there I was in my early to mid 30s, about 32 or so years old, not working as a designer, not working even as an account person, but working as a salesperson. That was, I think, just the lowest of the lows that I could possibly go on the ladder of creativity. So I ended up being really good at something I had no idea I had any talent for. And that really propelled me forward. That job didn't work out either, the job as a salesperson, not because I wasn't good at what I did, but because the company was imploding. And I ended up, through a headhunter, getting another job, which was my job at Sterling Brands. And that really, that job is what changed my life. Being good at something and then being recognized at being good at something by my boss. And then ultimately my business partner really fueled my sense of who I was professionally. And that confidence begat more confidence. And I ended up having a really extraordinary experience at Sterling Brands, where I helped grow the company to a really significant size and stature in the industry. Ultimately was part of the group of the three partners that were able to successfully sell the company to Omnicom, be part of a global network. I mean, that was really one of the most significant experiences of my life.
Yeah. And I suppose some of those days you would have had to pinch yourself that you were sort of in that boat and being part of something so, fascinating and growing every day. And just that kind of step-by-step satisfaction that we get every day you can't like achieve everything in one day, but every day there's like this lovely thing that you might solve, or some days are bad, but the next day you figure it out and you move on. And I suppose looking at your career and what you've sort of told me in the past, it's always been this kind of, little small steps to the bigger thing, to the mountain, I guess.
Small moves. And it wasn't a perfect experience, but it was now, that I have the space to look back at it. It was 21 years of real joy and pride at creating this thing that wasn't there before. And also now, 4 years later, and seeing that they're growing and succeeding also gives me a lot of real sense of accomplishment.
Definitely. And aside from your career, you've always been a big believer in side projects, with the podcast being one of them.
Yes.
In recent years, people seem to roll their eyes about, hustling, as they call it, working on the side, doing all these sort of extra things. But they can lead to such amazing opportunities, can't they?
Why do you think people roll their eyes?
Well, there's a little theme of it in the UK in that, I want work-life balance, and that's very important, of course. But I was talking to Simon Dixon, who's one of the co-founders of Dixon Baxi here in London. And I was sort of saying, isn't it funny how hard work seems to have become a dirty term in recent years? People are kind of a little bit, I don't want to hear that. And it's more a kind of case of let's work smarter. But, we were talking about how hard work has really kind of been one of the things that has made us successful in our own careers. And the little sacrifice that we've made along the way has paid off and benefited both of us. But I guess I don't know what I'm kind of trying to sort of say. I feel like side projects, from what I've seen on Twitter when we sort of talk about them, they're not as celebrated in the UK as they were in the creative industries maybe 10 years ago.
That's so interesting. Because I encourage all my students to create their own self-generated work as much as possible, because I just don't feel like the expectation that your day job is going to give you everything that you want is ever possible. I mean, it might feel that way maybe for the first 6 months that you work in a place, but eventually that honeymoon period wears off and you have to slog through everything. And there's always going to be, if you're in a job that you like, moments of genuine joy and accomplishment and pride. But there's always going to be moments of frustration and irritation and impatience and, clients that like what you do or don't like what you do, or Wall Street, or any number of things that impact how you feel about what you do every day. And so for me, those side projects helped fulfill and still help fulfill my various dreams. They're not all about one thing. I have lots of different things that I want to do. And so I don't even feel like they're side projects. They certainly were when I was at Sterling, because I had this focus of a day job that I had to protect. But I feel like those side projects helped me be happier and therefore better at what I was doing during the day. And so I never felt like they were extraneous or second-class citizens. They were really important to who I was becoming, and still now a part of who I am in a really, really big way. I think that in terms of work-life balance, I think it really depends on the kind of life that you want. I don't know a lot of creative people that don't want to be creative all the time.
Yeah.
And so certainly I think that there's a balance when you have a family, when you have responsibilities, but I also don't see it in that same way that I, think about Milton. it's either a life of abundance or a life of scarcity. And so for me, I still always want to see it as a life of abundance and wanting to be able to do as much as I can with it.
That's brilliant. So I guess, I was so entranced in what you were saying that I've completely lost my train of thought, Debbie. Does that happen to you?
All the time.
Oh,
I always have.
Gosh.
That's why I script my podcast. I have notes in front of me for every show.
Yes, I do as well. But then sometimes you're sort of looking at your notes going, gosh, I've kind of covered everything.
Right.
And it always happens with the more experienced podcasters such as yourself. I mean, I am talking to the leading, podcaster in the creative sector.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you for thinking it.
So what do you want to do more or less of as we sort of go into 2021?
Well, I want to do more drawing. I've been doing a lot more drawing over the years, and I am going to work on a visual memoir. That's what I'm going to do next.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's probably going to take me a few years, but I really want to do it. And if not now, Katie, when? That's sort of
exactly
what I'm feeling now. It's time.
That's lovely. And do you think California, your kind of new life with Roxanne there, and do you think that's sort of influencing a little bit of what's coming out in your creativity?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I'm not willing to say that I'm ready to leave New York yet, but I definitely feel like my time in California and with Roxanne is profoundly changing me.
It sounds, you've hinted a couple of times about, sort of this, running out of time. That must be something that is on your mind at the moment.
It is, Katie. I'm going to be 60 in 2021.
I didn't hear anything. It is but a number.
It's intense. I didn't really think about age until I was 48. At 48, I started thinking, 50's coming. And 48 was okay. 49 was terrifying. And 50, I was like, motherfucker. How the fuck did this happen?
Where does the time go?
Yeah. And again, as Paula said, she and I talked about it at length, about the 50s being the power decade. And it's been my best decade, without a doubt, the best decade of my life. Every decade has gotten better, I do have to say. So now I'm just hoping that will continue. But it does feel like a big, fat, fucking motherfucking number. Sorry for all the expletives.
No, it's all right. I love it. Woman after my own heart. It's just
I do have a potty mouth. I do.
Same.
So I'm thinking about it, and now I'm, pretty much saying that that's how old I am. Roxanne's like, your birthday isn't until October.
Sounds like Roxanne's kind of like this very calm presence in your life.
She is. She's a Libra, so very balanced.
Oh, very good. Mine's a Cancer.
Oh, that's why we get along so well. I'm a Cancer moon, so that's all about my sensitivity. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a Leo, so I'm trouble. Oh dear.
Yeah. Leo.
Although, I quite like the Chinese zodiac because I'm a horse, and the description for the horse, it just suits me more.
I could see that. I could totally see that.
Don't like to be enclosed in spaces, like to roam wild and free.
Yeah, you're a thoroughbred, though. You're a thoroughbred.
I'm a black beauty. I've got long, dark black hair.
Yeah, totally.
So, gosh, you're not running out of time, Debbie. I feel like you've got so much more time left, and so many more books left, perhaps.
I hope so, Katie.
So many adventures. I mean, when things get back to normal and we're sort of allowed to go about our lives in the way that we remember before all this kicked off, what's the kind of first thing you're going to be doing? Are you planning anything with Roxanne?
Yes, we'll probably have a real proper wedding. We got married in June. We were supposed to get married and have a big wedding in October, but when that all sort of changed without, any ability to do anything about it. And then in June, when all of the uprising happened, we just felt more protected being married, sort of being legally married.
Yeah.
Roxanne, unfortunately, gets a lot of death threats and things that are just terrible.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so we just wanted to be protected. And so we went to a place called Instant Wedding in LA.
That's charming.
With a few of our friends. We had my cousin drove down from Santa Cruz with her partner, and my best friend Dee Dee Gordon was there because she lives nearby, and we all had our masks and gloves. And back at that time, everybody was still wearing gloves. And we FaceTimed with some of our family who had no idea we were going to do it, and then just went and got married. So we'll probably have some sort of reception if we can. We'd love to go on a National Geographic expedition. That's something that I've done twice now, and we did one together in Egypt before the pandemic, and then prior to that, the year before that, I did a trip around the world as a National Geographic expedition, which was one of the most remarkable things I've ever done. And so I'd like to do another one. They have one called The Future of Everything. And I want to try to go on that. I was really hoping to go see the total solar eclipse of the sun that's happening in Antarctica in December. I don't know if that'll be possible to do, but that would be kind of glorious. I love traveling, although I've become a real homebody and love that too. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out when this passes.
When this all goes away, hopefully very soon, and hopefully with the world changing and being a more positive place, because at the moment it does feel a little bit dark, doesn't it? But
yeah, it does.
I am hopeful. I am an optimist, and I do think things will improve. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but I think it's the only way I keep going.
Yeah.
I think the next decade, which I'll whisper, we should call it the Super 60s.
That sounds good. I like
because that. I genuinely think that, there are some great things ahead of you yet. And I think I never like to ask the legacy question, Debbie, because it's a cliche, but I'm going to have to. I mean, you've had such an interesting career, and you've been on such a journey where you've shared so much of the things that you've gone through and your ups and downs. It's been very valuable to everybody else to remind us that we're all human, and we're even Debbie Millman isn't perfect,
especially Debbie Millman.
But how do you want to be remembered if you're already thinking you're running out of time? Goodness me, you haven't planned your funeral, have you?
No, God, no. I don't know. I mean, it's such a hard question. I think I'd like to have been able to bring people's stories about their creative journeys to the world. I'd like to think that I helped elevate design and branding as a discipline of abundance, right? And clarity. And the power that both of those disciplines have to connect us as opposed to separate us or create more of a consumerist perspective.
What about you as a person?
I don't know yet. I have to come back to you on that one.
You're still figuring it out.
Still figuring it out.
As we all are. Well, thank you very much, Debbie. It's been lovely to talk to you.
You are just so wonderful, Katie. Thank you so much for such a great conversation.
That's a wrap for another episode of the Creative Boom podcast. I'm your host, Katie Cowan. Thanks to our sponsor, Shillington, the original graphic design bootcamp that has helped students achieve award-winning portfolios and land incredible jobs in as little as 3 months. To find out more, go to shillingtoneducation.com. To listen or subscribe to the Creative Boom podcast, visit creativeboom.com/podcast. See you next time when I'll be joined by Simon Dixon, one of the co-founders of the hugely respected Dixon Baxi in London.